Am I the asshole for mouthing off at my stepmother's mom when she asked me to do the dishes? I, 24F, travel home to my dad 50M and stepmom's 46F house for Christmas. S-mom's parents H, F, and TM also usually come. Christmas Day 2024, I was alone in the house with H and T. While I was sitting on the couch, H walked up to me and asked me to wash the dishes. I agreed and stood to go do them. As I made my way to the kitchen, she continued to talk about how I never contribute and how sad it is that the burden always falls on my parents. After shrugging off several comments about how lazy I was, I got very frustrated with the disrespect. I casually said, when I was in high school, if I didn't do the dishes, I wasn't allowed to use the car, alluding to my stepsister J, 16F, H's biological granddaughter, and how she was not expected to do any chores and was currently using the car to drive around with her friends. H was immediately furious and began yelling at me. I'm not so sure what she said because as soon as she raised her voice, I walked away. Needless to say, I spent the rest of my Christmas vacation shut off in the guest room. S-mom and I spoke about it over the phone in March. It was a very emotionally heavy but productive conversation, and I thought the matter was at rest. In August, my dad calls me to talk about Christmas plans. He mentioned they were planning to go to FL to spend the holidays with S-mom's parents. I was also planning to go to FL, as I have other family and good friends I'm close with in that area. I had booked an Airbnb and had mentioned wanting to try and see my parents and siblings for Christmas morning. He told me, if I was you, I wouldn't presume I was invited. When I asked him to explain, he pointed to the previous encounter with H, saying, you basically told her to go F herself, and claiming H, T and S-mom were still super pissed. I said okay and ended the call. It crushed me. That week, I called S-mom to ask her about the situation. She had no idea she was allegedly still upset and claimed both her and H had long since forgotten about it. A month later, Sep. Dad calls me to tell me Christmas is back at their house and ask what are my plans. I told him I wasn't planning to come since I wasn't invited. He then claimed that wasn't what he meant, and that all he said was I shouldn't assume H and T would host me overnight at their house without asking them. I asked him why he would say that when I told him I had booked an Airbnb, but he didn't have an answer. I then tried to explain the pain I had carried knowing my family didn't want me home for Christmas, and how it made me feel excluded, but he interrupted to say it was all in my head. At that point, I felt dismissed, and I told him to call me when he was ready to talk. Fast forward to today, when he sends me 2 catty texts me to say there is nothing to talk about, and that I need to have some introspection and accountability on my part. I'm so devastated and not even sure how it even got this deep. Am I the asshole? In my opinion, what you said to H was not mouthing off. You were merely stating a fact. Her comments and accusations to you, however, were entirely out of line. She has no business trying to parent you or otherwise straighten you out in any way. That she was acting like that on a sacred holiday just makes it worse. Your dad is a troublemaker and a liar. Has he pulled stunts like this before? He has no excuse for his hurtful behavior. I would make arrangements to see the nice members of your family away from the assholes. You are definitely not the asshole. Just about everyone else in the story is an AH. Not the asshole. Your dad literally told you not to assume you're invited to Christmas, then acted like he never said it, and you're imagining things. The dishes thing was nothing. You pointed out your stepsister doesn't do chores and her grandma lost it. Even your stepmom says it's over, but your dad keeps changing his story and blaming you instead of just admitting he hurt you. Not the asshole your dad gaslighting you. He implied you weren't wanted at the house at all, then backpedaled when you went to stepmom for clarification. Your dad didn't want you there, so enjoy Christmas with other family. Maybe limit visiting your dad's family to dinner, only do no one-to-one arguments can be made, and your stepmom's parents can't lay into you about your behavior, which seems to be the black sheep, or your dad bad-mouthing you to stepmom parents lots. Clear not favorite child of dad's, but your stepmom's is enabling that favoritism of chore list. Text back something like, after serious contemplation, I have come to the conclusion that it's you who doesn't want me around. Thanks, Dad. Goodbye. Then block. Not the asshole. Honestly, it sounds like your dad is deliberately trying to stir up trouble and cause drama. Your stepmom said that there wasn't a problem with her or SGMA. So what is up with Dad? Stirring the pot, then gaslighting you about the whole thing? Your dad sucks, I'm really sorry. Am I the asshole for not inviting my brother's girlfriend to my wedding? I'm a 28 years old male, and my fiancé is a 30 years old FML been together 6 years. My brother is 30 years old, and his girlfriend is also 30 years old. Let's call her Sophie, been together just over 2. My fiancé and I are getting married next year, and my fiancé and I have had a conversation about not inviting Sophie to the wedding for various reasons. / being rude to my parents, in particular my mother. / generally not being very pleasant to talk to and standoffish. / making no effort with me or my fiancé at getting to know us or spend time with us, despite multiple attempts from us to spend time with her. / making rude comments about my personality and profession. So following this, I approached my parents, after they repeatedly showed their frustrations about her over months with me, and told my parents that we wouldn't be inviting Sophie to our wedding. Following this, my parents immediately shared their concerns that this would break up the family. At this point, there were approximately 18 months until the wedding, and I did not want to speak to my brother about this situation and wanted some time to think about it following my parents sharing their concerns. Weeks passed, and my fiancé and I decided that we would invite Sophie to the wedding, as it was not worth the argument. I then told my parents about this change and left it at that. I never told my brother about this and didn't speak to him about this either. There was no reason for it to be brought up. What followed is that weeks after this, my parents drove up to my brother's and Sophie's home. We live opposite sides of the country to each other, and individually told them both that Sophie wouldn't be invited to our wedding and told them about frustrations that we, fiancé and I, had shared with my parents about Sophie. I only found out about this months after, when my brother started ignoring my texts and calls. So I confronted my parents, and they confessed that they had told my brother and Sophie. I am now being painted out to be someone who is breaking up the family. Alongside, I am being told to apologize to Sophie for the hurt I have caused. There is obviously a lot more to it, but I have tried to keep it as factual and unbiased as possible. So am I the asshole? Not the asshole. You had concerns and voiced them to your parents. Your parents told you it'd break up the family and be your fault. You decided to allow her at the wedding and informed your parents as much. They decided to tell your brother anyway and do the thing they accused you of doing. Your parents are the assholes. It's like they want her to know she's not welcome in the family, but don't want to be the bad guys and made you it. Stuff like this is maybe why Shopai acts the way she does towards you and your wife and doesn't care for you, mom. Seems like mom and dad stir both pile of poo pots. Not the asshole. Call up your brother and report what your parents told you. Express concerns about your parents' mental fitness. Together, encourage them to get checked out. Their behavior is not normal and could be a sign of dementia. If your brother asks if his girlfriend is invited, reply, "Of course," and leave it at that. I think I understand why Sophie was rude to your parents, lol. Technically not the asshole because your parents are major assholes. Not the asshole. What the fuck is wrong with your parents? They stirred up drama, and now you have to clean it up? I mean, now it doesn't seem so bad that she was rude to your parents. They're capable of backstabby behavior. What you should actually do now depends on whether / how much you want to salvage your relationship with your brother. You didn't not invite Sophie, though. You decided to invite her, and your parents went and purposely lied to her and your brother for some reason. Your parents threw you under the bus and even lied. They clearly don't care about you. You should really be reconsidering your relationship with your parents, to be honest. Am I the asshole for not wanting to spend holidays with my brother and sister-in-law and their kids? Newish to Reddit, so forgive me if my format is off. My sister-in-law, who is married to my husband's brother, sent my husband and I a text asking what day we were planning on heading to my husband's dad's house to celebrate Christmas so that they could meet us there. For context, they went no contact with us for a little over a year and decided to reconnect this year. We tried reaching out multiple times to find out why and never got an answer. Fast forward, my husband's brother finally reached out because he missed him and explained, I shit you not, that he was offended because I was surprised he had a Pinterest account and he didn't like my tone when I showed my surprise. His wife also was offended by me for answering the multiple questions I was getting about when I was going to start having babies, the day after my wedding, with the following, I do want to wait until my mom can apply for her visa so that she can come and be with me during postpartum. This one I understand because her mom had passed away a year before that. However, I wish they had told me that was the issue when I kept reaching out instead of ghosting us. They also said my personality was too much for them, and the constant invitations to do things was overwhelming for them and seemed fake. My personality isn't for everyone, cool. But the invites were group invites I was sending out to our friends, and I was just trying to include them. Now this year, they reached out and said they realized they may have over-exaggerated and want a relationship after all. However, I simply don't care to have one anymore. I tried to have a good relationship with them before they cut us off and would babysit and loved spoiling their baby girl. It hurt when they cut me off without any explanation. And at the time my own family was falling apart, so I was excited to join theirs. They also convinced my mother-in-law to cut me off, and she spoke so much shit about me to all of my husband's family. Now that they have 2 more babies, I recognize their effort in trying to have some sort of connection, and we've had play dates and met up. I simply don't want to spend my holidays with them. And it annoyed me that her text wasn't her asking if we are open to celebrating Christmas together, but just asking for a date that would work with us. I ended up replying to them that we weren't really planning on going to their dad's for Christmas when they were, and that we're trying to keep these holidays super casual and not overwhelming for us. I also said that the assumption that we were down for that kind of threw me off, and I just want to be transparent. Am I the one overreacting now and being the asshole? Not the asshole. I think they're just looking for a free babysitter and gifts for their kids. I wouldn't want to spend time with them either, especially after ruining your relationship with Mill. Not the asshole. There has got to be an ulterior motive with your SIL wanting you back into the fold. I'll bet it's babysitting. Your reply had too many words for this kind of sensitive folks to cherry-pick their next trauma from. No will just suffice. Or get your husband to handle his family. Info: how does your husband feel about reconnecting with his brother? No, they may just do the same thing again over something minor. What does your husband want? This is his brother. If he wants to have a relationship, I really think you should support it. I can understand how hurt and confused you were by their actions, but for me at least, it isn't unforgivable. If your husband is ambivalent or doesn't want to move forward, then you should just ghost them right back. Am I the asshole for leaving my friend's event early after she put me on the spot in front of everyone? I late 20s have a friend, Maya, who is very extroverted and loves hosting things. I'm more on the quiet side, but we've been friends for years and usually balance each other out fine. Last weekend, Maya invited me to a small get-together at her place. She framed it as a casual hangout, a few friends, food, drinks, nothing formal. I agreed, and even showed up early to help her set up. Once people arrived, though, I realized this wasn't as casual as she made it sound. There were about 15 people there, including several I didn't know. That's fine, but then Maya announced she had a fun little thing planned. She proceeded to go around the room, asking everyone to share something impressive or exciting that's happened to them recently. Some people talked about promotions, new relationships, fitness goals, etc. It was clearly meant to be uplifting, but I started feeling uncomfortable because I'm going through a rough patch right now and don't really have anything shiny to share. When it got to me, I tried to keep it light and said something vague like, honestly, I've just been focusing on getting through each week. Maya laughed awkwardly and said, come on, that's not impressive, you have to have something. A few people looked at me, waiting. I felt embarrassed and kind of exposed. I repeated that I didn't really want to get into it, but she kept pushing, saying I was killing the vibe. At that point, I just said I wasn't feeling well and stepped outside. After a few minutes, I grabbed my things and left without making a big announcement. Later that night, Maya texted me saying I was rude for leaving, that it made her look bad as a host, and that I should have just played along for 5 minutes. I told her I felt put on the spot, and that I'd rather leave than fake enthusiasm in front of strangers. She says I overreacted and made the night awkward. I think she ignored my boundaries. Am I the asshole for leaving early instead of just going along with it? Not the asshole. I hate those icebreaker games. It's terrible, especially for introverts. She should have let it go. She was a bad host. Getting through each week when you are down and going through /TIS impressive. Everyone in that room and planet has been there. Not the asshole even for a blink. Maya sounds like an AH. Not the asshole. It was graceless and unkind of her to force the issue when you tried to get out of it. It's not that you made her look like a bad host. It's that she behaved like a bad host. Not the asshole. Getting through each week is 100% an achievement. And any good friend would recognize that. That party honestly sounds like my worst nightmare. I get that she wanted it to be an uplifting activity, but it feels like something you do on the first day of school that no one truly wants to participate in. If you had up and left when she first asked, I'd have said you might be. But she couldn't take a hint. Instead, she doubled down and focused the spotlight on you when you were already visibly uncomfortable. Not the asshole. Who the hell wants to play this game with people you don't even know? She had this planned and couldn't bother to inform you beforehand, even when you arrived early to help her. You did nothing wrong, but I would question whether she really is a friend.